Gamers, if you're watching this video the day that it dropped, I'm probably doing a subathon right now. It's going to be live on both Twitch and YouTube, so you can literally just check it out right here on YouTube. But I did have this one deck I wanted to talk about. I just got to master rank with it. Currently, I'm on a 4-game win streak, I think. Let me just see my match history real quick here. Yeah, took a loss, win, 4-game win streak, you know, doing pretty good. Nothing too crazy here. I'm not trying to suggest that this is somehow the best deck in the game or anything like that, but Pit to Saws in my Discord put me onto this deck. This is Rescue Ace, and as you can see by just looking at this list here at first glance, we're not running a super big Snake Eyes package, actually. I did test it out, actually, with more Snake Eyes cards, and I ended up liking it less. I think Pit's build is just really, really good. Basically, his build is like prioritizing having a lot of hand traps, and a mid-rangey control deck like Rescue Ace, I feel like really thrives when you have just a bunch of hand traps. A lot of the time, you end up stuck in a grind game where you're just kind of like out-resourcing your opponent with, you know, small interruptions here and there. There's not many like single cards that are just like ultra game-winning. I mean, to be fair, Turbulence kind of is that, because Turbulence will just set 4 cards out of your deck, but you don't always see Turbulence turn 1. A lot of the time it's slower games, but I have been really liking this deck. I played it to do all of Duelist Cup, and I'm also playing it in ranked right now. Actually, if you want to catch more live gameplay of this, I'm probably going to be playing some of it on my subathon, because this is just my favorite deck to play in the game right now, so I just felt like I had to cover it. I'm sure there's not a ton of demand for Rescue Ace right now. I think this deck is probably just rogue, but to me it just feels amazing. I think I just like this style of deck. It feels like I have a lot of control a lot of the time. You know, I really liked Naturia Runic, which is also a more control-oriented, mid-rangey kind of combo deck. Same goes for Bestial Runic, for what little time that deck was good. And this deck kind of has a similar feel, just in the sense that it's very slow games, a very just calculated, focused on small incremental advantage. And I really like that playstyle. I think it just suits me really well. So I've been doing better with this than even with Snake Eyes, and I think that's mostly just a result of me being better at playing this style of deck versus a deck like Snake Eyes or Super Heavy Samurai. I just wanted to talk about it because I really like it, and it did get me to master rank. I played through pretty much all of Diamond with this deck. So yeah, as per usual, we're going to do some replays, we're going to do some live gameplay, and we're also going to have the card by card at the end of the video. But before we get into that, don't forget to subscribe. We're almost at 20,000 subscribers. I would really love to hit that benchmark soon. We're like on that final sprint there. So thank you so much for the support, boys. Let's get into it. I can show you some replays before we do some live gameplay. This is not really a combo deck, you know, so there's not like some super in-depth combo lines to showcase, but a lot of these cards are really cool. And I think they're kind of underrated, honestly, especially considering that we're going to get even more support for them. So this is like a pretty goated opening hand. Airlifter is really good in this deck. If you can land Airlifter and Hydrant, you can get your field spell on top of getting Turbulence, because Airlifter can search your alert, which can then search any Rescue Ace monster from your deck if you control Hydrant. Anyway, I'll just show you that right now. So the first thing we do, in draw phase, we go Wanted to play around Droll, and we search ourselves a Diabellstar. Droll's not super popular, but you should be doing this anyway. Then I'm going to discard the Impulse to summon out the Diabellstar. Diabellstar is going to search out the original Sinful Spoils. I'm going to normal summon Airlifter. Airlifter search the field spell. Here I felt really safe. I was seeing no triggers for anything, and I was really doubtful that they were just like scumming me. I just felt like they probably didn't have Ash or anything like that. So at this point, I just go for the Sinful Spoils and I send the Airlifter to the grave. I figured, you know, might as well send Airlifter just so like I have another Rescue Ace in grave. I could have also just sent the Diabellstar. It didn't make a massive difference, but I just felt like having that big body on the field would be good. And my plan for this turn was to not play into Nibiru. So far we're at 3 summons, and we're going to try to make it only 4 summons, not have to play into Nibiru, you know, just keep it safe, keep it nice and simple. So we're going to go for Wanted here. Wanted gets us a draw into Imperm, which is definitely not bad. Going to banish 2 from the grave to summon out the Turbulence. So we summon out Turbulence, then we can go Turbulence effect and set the Rescue, set the Extinguish, and set the Alert, as well as the Contain from the deck. And then, you know, you can just right click to shuffle all of it. So I mean, these cards are all insane. If you're controlling Hydrant, they become super crazy. If you guys are not super familiar with what Rescue Ace does, basically all of these cards gain extra effects while Rescue Ace Hydrant is on the field. So like Extinguish, for example, Normally it's just a pop, but while you control Hydrant, it also makes it so your opponent cannot activate the effects of that card in the graveyard or cards with that name for the rest of the turn, which is super crazy. There's so many decks where this is super applicable against. For example, monsters that trigger when they're sent to the grave, like a lot of branded monsters do this. You can just get rid of them with this card, and then they will not get their graveyard effect. DPE would be a random example as well. If you pop the Soul Piercer, they're not going to get to search, and even later, if they use a different copy, they still won't get to search because it just negates cards with that name for the rest of the turn. So really, really good. Whereas Contain, it's usually just like a Imperm style card where it just negates a monster, but while you control Hydrant, it also makes it so you can't use that monster as material for anything, not a ritual, synchro, fusion, Xyz, link, whatever. You just can't use it as material. I end up winning a lot of games by just going Contain on a Kit Kalos. That's really, really good, right? You stop them from using the Kit Kalos effect, and the Kit Kalos can't be used as material for fusion or anything, really. Alert normally adds a Rescue Ace from grave to hand, but while you have Hydrant, it can search from the deck. And Rescue normally special summons a Rescue Ace from the grave, but while you control Hydrant, you also can just special summon a monster from your opponent's grave without negating it or anything. It's kind of broken. So anyway, I'm going to set an Imperm here. I'm going to go Hydrant to go Alert to search Impulse. Rescue Ace Impulse is like one of the best cards in the deck. There's a reason we're running 3 of this. Basically, while this card is in your hand, if your opponent activates any monster effect on the field, you can just tribute it from your hand and special summon any Rescue Ace monster from your deck. So that can be a Turbulence, it can be you know, an Airlifter if you just want to search a spell for the next turn, depending on if you're playing on turn 0. You can also search the bigger Rescue Aces like Fire Engine and the one that draws cards. I forget his name right now. But yeah, so Impulse is super, super crazy. It's a great card. It allows you to play on turn 0. I've played on turn 0 multiple times. I've like set up like 4 monsters on field on turn 0. It's actually crazy what this deck can do, even in the very first turn of the game when you're going second. But yeah, Impulse is a super broken card. Definitely a must run at 3 if you're playing this type of build. But anyway, we're going to set 2 Imperm. That's the main reason I did that. I was like, you know what? I might as well search right now and have 2 Imperm. And yeah, I mean, obviously with this setup and not playing into Nibiru, we pretty much insta-win, but I just thought this turn was a really good example of like a really solid setup without really going into the extra deck, without getting all wombo-y, combo-y. It's not that we like super hard lose to Nibiru either. Keep in mind, as soon as you get to your rescue face down, you can always rescue a card from your grave, and then at that point, you know, if you rescue a card from your grave, you can like, you'll be able to use your other Rescue Ace cards afterwards, right? So it's not like playing it to Nibiru would have been the end of the world, but I still felt like, you know, why not play it safe? Why not just keep these dudes on the field? I don't really need more advantage anyway to win the game, so that's where I went for it. And obviously I also had like a billion hand traps, which pretty much made it impossible for my opponent to play their Performapal deck there. But, you know, pretty decent showcase, I guess. We can do one more replay and then we'll do some live gameplay. All right, so we're going to do a going second replay. That way at least we have all bases covered here. So this is like not a great hand. So, you know, I mean, for going second, it's not bad because we have Ash and Imperm, but, you know, having like attacker, you know, you can't really summon it on his own. He summons himself while you have like when you summon a Rescue Ace monster. And we have Rescue, which without Hydrant on the field is pretty useless, honestly. Even with Hydrant on the field, it's not the best. To have in hand, Alert is better. But anyway, so our hand not looking super hot. We are playing against Snake Eyes, I think, or it might be Labyrinth. No, I think it was Labyrinth. Yeah, so they go Ariana, search the Big Welcome. They are going to try to shotgun Big Welcome early, playing super hard into Ash here, so they minus pretty hard here. I don't know if that was really the play. Then they send their Ariana to grave to go Diabell Star. I'm just going to negate Diabell Star so that they don't get the Omni-Negate trap, because I really want to be able to do what I can with what little cards I have. I got lucky, though. I did get Seeker, so I'm going to go Wanted, Seeker of Sinful Spoils. They go Maxi. We call by the Maxi, obviously. Grab Diabell Star. Wanted is always access to your Hydrant, so, you know, like, as soon as you see Diabell Star, you're pretty much popping off here. And putting a Rescue Ace in the grave while you have Rescue is really not bad either. So here we're going to go for Sinful Spoils, summon the Hydrant. We're going to go for a Hydrant effect to search the Airlifter. We did not normal summon yet, keep in mind. Then we can go for the draw of the Wanted. So we draw into another copy of Wanted, very sad. And we go Airlifter to search the Alert. Basically, the reason I did that draw is because if I drew into Alert, since I'm running 3 of Alert, then I would have instead searched the Field Spell with the Airlifter. But in this case, it's a lot better to just go Alert and grab the Turbulence since I control a Hydrant. So we go for Alert, grab the Turbulence, and at this point, like, we're going to be building a lot of advantage. We're going to go for a Link Haribo. Here, I'm like kind of smelling a Nibiru, so I'm like, I'm actually just going to try to bait out this dude's Nibiru before I summon Turbulence. Obviously, it's a massive misplay to Nibiru before Turbulence, but they did do it. So I felt pretty happy about that. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe you fell for that, my friend. Then they're going to go for their copy of Diabel in the grave, sending their Nibiru so they can summon her and get a search out of the deck to set their Omni Negate trap card. Not really a big deal at this point. I mean, obviously, we pretty much insta-win in this scenario here because we get our Turbulence. They have no interruption. We get everything we need. We're still in main phase 1. We can still beat over the Diabel star. We got Rescue to bring back Hydrant. Like, this was unwinnable for them, right? So, yeah, I mean, like, decent showing. Like, I really think this deck is super solid. I say it's rogue, but I think if it's rogue, it's like high rogue. I think it's actually really, really good, and I'm really happy that Pit to Sauce put it on the map for me because it's been the most fun I've been having so far this format. I really, really like it. Anyway, we did 2 replays, so let's go do some live gameplay, I guess. All right, hopefully I go first and get a decent hand. The deck can have like weird hands sometimes, like because we're running so many hand traps, right? So, you know, we'll see what happens. We got the coin flip. It's already a good start. I'd love to see some access to my Hydrant, but even that sometimes is not enough because Hydrant on its own is not necessarily full combo. Oh my god, we have Wanted in hand. Oh my god, this is like the best opening hand. Oh my god. Okay, let's start with Wanted. This is super dumb. We're gonna start with Wanted. That's Ash or Maxi. It's Ash. Okay, I am super cool with that. That's totally fine with me. Totally cool with me. All right. And I'm going to keep the attacker because I'll get to summon it when I summon my Hydrant. Yeah, no, we're going to do that. Yeah, for sure. They already used Ash. We don't have to play around Ash, so we'll discard the Impulse here. And we're going to summon out the Hydrant. This is great. This is great. Oh my goodness. This is awesome. Plus, they have a Fire Engrave, so we'll be able to Promethean Princess here. This is awesome. Okay, so we go Hydrant. We did not normal summon. Oh my goodness, this is ridiculous. We don't need to play into Nibiru though. Tough decision. I'm gonna go for the Airlifter. I'm just gonna go for it. I'm not smelling Nib. And even if they do have Nib, like I said earlier, Nib is not the biggest issue against this deck as long as you get your Turbulence set up first. That was 3 summons because I didn't get to Diabel Star. Okay, so we're fine. Yeah, we're totally cool. We're totally cool. Let's go grab Turbulence. And nice enough, Alert is a Rescue Ace card in the grave, so we can actually banish the Alert as well as the Impulse, so we don't have to summon like 5 times, you know? So let's just do this. Very good. Okay, and we can go for Turbulence. Now we might get unlucky. Oh, no Imperm, nothing. Okay, I like it. We'll set another one then. All right. So let's set this. No reason to go Rescue here. How hard do I want to play into it? I mean, I really don't feel like I need to. I would like to summon IP, but I don't even have a card in hand to discard anyway. I mean, I'll take the chance. It's really not that... It's not that bad to get nibbed with this deck. We're going to go for it. We're going to go for it. Once we have our spells and traps in the back row, it's not the end of the world. Oh my god, I'm an idiot. I put her in the wrong zone. Bro, I can't be this dumb. I cannot be this dumb. Going minus just for a dumb mistake like that. Don't be like me. Don't be misplay central, guys. Just, you know, use your brain. Just use your brain cells. Read the cards. I'm not supposed to block her arrows. I'm a real dummy for that. Anyway, we're going to grab Hydrant here. Yeah, it's better to keep Hydrant on the field and to just bring back the Turbulence with Rescue instead, if you need it. So we're going to make our Amblo Whale here with these 2. Very standard turn, very standard. Playing into Nibiru, but they didn't have it, thankfully. I could just go Rescue right now, or I could save it if I potentially want to interrupt their graveyard. I'm just going to save it for now. I think we're okay. We'll see what happens, you know? So, what does Bro have? What is Bro playing? So far, we've only seen Ash Blossom, so that doesn't tell us anything, really. And they're on 40 cards, right? So, let's see. Kashtira. Ugh, that's an annoying one. Yeah, my first reflex would be to just pop it right now. Yeah, we'll just, like, try to get them out of resources. We're gonna pop the Swarm Ship and pop the Fenrir. Really don't care about being locked into fire. I kind of like this because obviously Kashtira can keep special summoning, but there's only so much special summoning that they can do. We are going to go for the Amblo Well effect here just to bring back our Hita. That's kind of nice, actually, just getting back Hita on the field. All right, that's pretty good. I can't believe I summoned this Hita in the wrong zone. Right mid deck tutorial, bro. Like, seriously. Okay, so it's Tearlament's Cash. All right. That's fine, honestly. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. The back row in Rescue Ace is really good against this deck, actually. Oh. Okay, I guess my misplay didn't really matter very much. But yeah, I mean, the deck is good. As you guys saw there, you know, I didn't need to play. I mean, I did play into Nibiru, but I didn't need to. In fact, I kind of minused myself there by misplaying. But like the amount of control this deck sets up is really, really good. I mean, Tier Cash is not a bad deck at all. It's a great deck, one of the best decks in the game right now. And I mean, obviously made short work of it. And it's not like I set up a bunch of negates or anything. It's just a bunch of really good interruption on the field. And that Hydrant making all that back row so much more powerful. I mean, even your rescue can actually be used to interrupt tier limits because I could have grabbed their monsters out of the grave and summoned it to my field to stop them from fusioning with it. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty good showing actually. This is going to be a bit of a shorter deck profile. So we're just going to go do the card by card, and I'll give more like card specific tips that I've learned by playing it a lot. I can't cover every single scenario by doing gameplay for a more mid-rangey deck like this. So let's go do the card by card. So yeah, Rescue Ace. I mean, look, I really, really like this deck. I think it's super solid and extremely, extremely underrated right now. I absolutely love it. Let's talk about the ratios a little bit. So as you guys can see here, we're running an insane amount of hand traps. So that's like 3 Veiler, 3 Maxi, 3 Ash, 3 Imperm, 2 Nibiru. I like low-key, you could even run 3 Nibiru, but I only have 2, so I'm just running 2. If you run 3 Nibiru plus like 3 of all these cards, you have like a 1 out of 5 chance, actually a bit over a 1 out of 5 chance to draw Nibiru plus Ash or Nibiru plus Veiler. I know I said in my Staples tier list that Nibiru is not great right now, but there is a one caveat to that, which is that if you run a bunch of Nibirus with other hand traps, Nibiru plus another hand trap is still insane. It's super good. Even against Snake Eyes, if you have like Ash Nibiru, you know, you can Ash their Poplar, and then, you know, they won't get their field spell. So then you actually can Nibiru them after they use Flamberge and have a really big impact. So yeah, Nibiru is still a super high impact card when coupled with another hand trap. As for the Rescue Ace ratios here, so we have 3 Hydrant, 3 Impulse, 2 Airlifter, 1 Fire Attacker, 1 Fire Engine, and double Turbulence. Hydrant I think is like a no-brainer. This is like your main searcher. It's your Stratos basically. Impulse I think is also crazy. I already explained a little bit earlier that this card basically lets you play on turn 0. It's also a really good search off of Hydrant if you don't have the cards you need to get into Turbulence turn 1. So if you don't have that, oftentimes that means you have a bunch of hand traps and like access to Hydrant. So what you'll do is you'll go Hydrant, search Impulse, you know, and you have your hand traps, maybe a set Imperm or something like that. Then on opponent's turn with the Impulse, you can summon like an Airlifter, or you can summon a Fire Attacker to get some draws and a discard, which can maybe get you into even more hand traps, or even like a Fire Engine to just summon out of the deck more. You can even go for a Turbulence for the potential interruption. The Impulse has a lot of versatility within this list. I think it's a must run at 3. Whereas Airlifter, until we get the support and specifically Rescue Ace Emergency, Airlifter is not quite as good yet. That's not to say it's bad. In the best case scenario for this deck, what you want to see really is the Wanted Engine to special summon out the Hydrant so that you can actually use your normal summon on the Airlifter. So oftentimes if you have Wanted, what you're doing is you're going Wanted, special Hydrant, Hydrant, search Lifter, normal the Lifter, and then Lifter can search the Alert, and Alert can search any Rescue Ace from your deck because you control Hydrant, at which point you'll be searching the Turbulence and potentially going into a Promethean Princess play, or you might not even commit that hard and just decide to not play into Nibiru and just go straight for the Turbulence, set 4, pass turn, and still have a lot of control. So Airlifter is still a really good card in the deck, but definitely not worth running at 3 just yet, because on its own, it's not really doing that much for you. Whereas the Fire Attacker and Fire Engine, these are more like useful options here and there, and honestly, the attack points help a lot with them. Also, the Fire Engine, this is kind of niche, but I've had scenarios where I have like Fire Engine and I can normal Ash and make Baron. That's basically one of the 2 reasons. Also, Rescue Ace Turbulence is level 9, so there are scenarios where you have Turbulence and you can normal summon Veiler and then make Baron. Oh, sorry. Oh my god, chat has been... Yo, the comments have been so mean at me for this. Okay, listen, man. Baron de Fleur is... Sorry, this is like a random, unhinged MDC tangent, but like, Baron de Fleur is 3 French words, okay? They're 3 French words. I'm French, so I'm pronouncing it in French. Like, people keep giving me shit for this. You guys are pronouncing it wrong. I'm not the one talking shit, and, you know, I'll take my L on Dispater. Yeah, I'm pronouncing Dispater wrong. It should be Dispater or whatever. I don't understand how to actually pronounce it, and I just think Dispater sounds cooler. So, fair enough, but I'm not actually talking shit to people that pronounce it right. So, don't give me shit for pronouncing this one right, okay? Anyway, Baron is like a pretty copium pick for the extra deck. Definitely not a must run. I just like that I have the option sometimes of making it with these cards. Then we have the Wanted engine, which is very, very small in this deck. We're not running Snake Eyes cards at all. Like I said earlier, I did test the Snake Eyes cards. I was not really a fan of Snake Eyes within this deck. It just felt like, you know, a lot of my cards were combo pieces that I didn't need anymore when I would have rather had interruption in the form of hand traps. So I ended up putting back the hand traps and the deck felt so much better yet again. So sure, the consistency might not be through the roof until we get emergency, but until then, I still personally think you're better off playing a bunch of hand traps versus playing like a massive Snake Eyes package. At that point, just play Snake Eyes, right? So anyway, the package is 3 Wanted, 1 Original Sinful Spoils, and 1 copy of the Abel Star. And in my opinion, that's all you need. And next up, we have our 1 Rescue and our 2 copies of Alert, you know. We have the Contain, the Extinguish. You can run 3 Alert. I ended up bumping it down to 2 just because sometimes I would get Alert in scenarios where I didn't really need it. But I think running it at 3 is still really, really good, especially because sometimes you're very likely to draw into it off of Wanted if you didn't see it in opening hand. So, you know, running at 3 is probably worth it. I was just at 41 cards and I was like, you know, like this is probably, the third one is probably the easiest card to remove out of my list here. Now for the extra deck, I already talked about Baron. We have Link Haribo, which is super relevant in this deck. Just being able to get your Hydrant in the grave sometimes is very, very important. Also, being a Dark means that you can use Link Haribo to basically have a Dark on the field to then go into Dark the Dark Charmer and potentially get into Celine and set up an access code or an Appaloosa depending on what you might need. We have the Anima because it's just a nice option to have, honestly. Sometimes people play into it and it's just super funny every time. The one of Nightmare Phoenix, it happens pretty often actually that instead of going to Ambler Whale, I'll go into Nightmare Phoenix because I'm just prioritizing outing back row over like doing damage because I can't go for a game that turn anyway. So Phoenix is absolutely a must play in this deck. Then you have Sunlight Wolf. Sunlight Wolf is pretty useful to add back like a Rescue Ace Hydrant from your grave. You have Hita. Don't be like me. Don't be an idiot like me, please. When you summon Hita, make sure that your arrows are clear. I don't know how I could make that mistake on video. I don't even make that mistake on stream. But yeah, please, when you summon Hita, don't summon Hita where the zones are blocked because you need her zones to summon a monster from your opponent's grave, which is pretty much always going to be Ash Blossom. This card is really, really good in the deck. It comes up super often that you can just make a Hita, grab their Ash Blossom, go into Promethean Princess, grab a fire from your grave, and do the Ambler Whale pass as a worst case scenario. It's really good. It's really good. Hita's great, but oh my god, don't do what I did. We have IP Masquerena. This is just a great option for the deck. Honestly, oftentimes Turbulence or the Hydrant plus IP pass is a really, really good formula for victory. Just having access to those back row cards plus like, you know, being able to go into Unicorn or potentially Appaloosa depending on the situation is just great during the opponent's turn. Elf is kind of a weird pick. I'm going to explain this one because it's a little bizarre. But basically what you can do with Elf is if you have like 3 monsters on your field other than Turbulence and you want to protect Turbulence from a potential imperm, you can actually just use 2 monsters to make IP Masquerena. Then you can use IP and another monster to make Elf. Now keep in mind, you're not playing level 2s in this deck, so the main reason you're doing this is just so that when you summon your Turbulence, Elf is pointing to it, and so your Turbulence is safe from imperm. And also, what's cool about it is on your opponent's turn, as soon as they control a monster, you can go Sprite Elf effect to bring back IP Masquerena, so you will still get to do that IP Masquerena effect, which makes it actually, in my opinion, a really good pick for the deck, even though it's kind of fringe. In Master Duel, sometimes it's really easy to tell if your opponent has imperm because, you know, you can kind of deduce they didn't have a little red trigger prompt when you search, which means it's not Ash, but they do when you have a monster on the field, which means it's either like a imperm or a Veiler. So in those scenarios, you know, you can go into an Elf line and maybe they'll waste their imperm during that line, or otherwise, you know, you're just going to get your Elf on the field and then you're going to summon your Turbulence, and unless they have 2 imperms, your Turbulence is going to go through. So kind of a neat little interaction there. Selene is really good, especially since we're running 3 Veiler, and also the Diabel Star is a spellcaster. So the odds of you getting a spellcaster in the grave are pretty high for this deck, and Selene being able to be made both from Hita and from Dark is pretty useful sometimes to just go into an access code and clean it up, or go into an Appaloosa. We also have the Promethean Princess, obviously, and the Ambler Whale pass. There's pretty much nothing else to say about the extra deck or the main deck in general, I think, for me at least. I really can't wait for for us to get the Rescue Ace support. I mean, I'm really enamored with this deck. Huge shout out again to Pit to Sauce. I'll leave his channel in the description. That dude has been a huge help with so many deck lists for the channel, and this one is one of my favorites that he's ever sent me. I just really like this deck. So yeah, go check out his channel, and guys, drop a like, you know, do all those things. I appreciate it. Check out the subathon if it's still going on. Hopefully it's still going on. Maybe it's not, but I hope it is. Anyway, okay, peace.